Welcome to the Financial Distribution Workshop. This workshop will cover the Financial Distribution Bureau, GenTax and Tapestry systems, revenue types and receipts, revenue distributions, gross receipts and compensating tax rates, adjustments to distributions, grants and hold harmless distributions, job description for the tax revenue local government liaison, and non-public reports that are available for local governments. The Financial Distribution Bureau consists of three units. The Tax Administration Unit, which distributes revenue received pursuant to the Tax Administration Act. Most work is conducted within the GenTax system. Also distributes voluntary personal income tax refund contributions made by taxpayers, reconciles and intercepts income tax, currently budgeted for 5 full-time employees. Motor Vehicle Division Distribution Unit distributes revenues received pursuant to the Motor Vehicle Code, works within the Tapestry system, and is budgeted for 3 full-time employees. Cash Control Unit reconciles fiscal agent bank cash in multiple bank accounts to share, which is the state's financial system. It also recognizes standalone bank accounts outside the fiscal agent bank to share. It currently is staffed with 2 full-time employees. Each month, the Bureau reconciles and distributes over $1.4 billion to state funds, local governments, tribal governments, public schools, and institutions of higher education. GenTax is fully integrated tax processing software that has been customized to accommodate the New Mexico Tax Act and consists of tax returns, payments, audits, and distributions. Specific rules for over 40 distinct tax programs. GenTax also contains the tax rates, due dates and penalty interest rules, distribution rules, distribution recipient accounting information, historical data, designed for taxes with an associated tax return. Tapestry is utilized by our motor vehicle department. It's fully integrated driver and vehicle information software that has been customized to accommodate New Mexico Motor Vehicle Code. Tapestry system contains fees for all MVD transactions, driver's information, due date definitions and penalty interest rules, distribution rules for motor vehicle fees, distribution recipient accounting information, historical data, and it also interfaces with private MVD partner offices and retail kiosks. The next few slides will include details on some of the largest monthly distributions, which consist of gross receipts and compensating tax, oil and gas severance taxes, personal income tax, motor vehicle fees and taxes, insurance premium tax, and corporate income tax. Gross receipts and compensating tax. The recipients for this tax is the state general fund, counties, municipalities, tribal governments, New Mexico Finance Authority, tax increment development districts, and the Metropolitan Redevelopment Act, which are referred to as MRAs. The purpose of this tax is state, local, and tribal operations, specific dedications to TIDs, MRAs, and LEDA projects, and is distributed about $7 billion annually. Oil and gas severance tax. The tax program includes advance payments, ad valorem equipment, natural gas processors tax, oil and gas tax. The recipients of this tax is state general fund, counties, municipalities, public schools, hospitals, and higher education institutions. The purpose of this tax is state and local operations, specific earmarks for education and bond debt services, and over $4 billion is distributed annually from this tax. Personal income tax distributions. The recipients are the state general fund. The purpose of this tax is state government operations, and the amount distributed annually is over $2 billion. Amounts distributed may vary and reflect quarterly estimated payments and final payment pit returns that are due each spring. Motor vehicle fees and tax distribution details, including vehicle registration fees, driver's license fees, special license plate fees, citations, weight and distance tax, motor vehicle excise tax, international fuel tax agreements, international registration plans. The recipients of this tax are local governments, Department of Transportation, Administrative Office of Courts, and higher education. Main purpose of this tax is funding for state and local government roads, judicial system, donations to higher education, and other worthy causes. This distribution can be up to $500 million annually. Insurance premium tax distribution details. Tax programs include insurance premium health, premium property, premium surplus, and self-insured. Recipients of this tax include the State General Fund, State Fire Fund, Law Enforcement Protection Fund. The purpose of this is state operations, fire, and law enforcement grants to the local governments, and over $700 million may be distributed annually. Corporate income tax. The recipients of corporate income tax is the State General Fund. The purpose of the corporate income tax is state operations, and the amount distributed annually can be up to $800 million. Other selected tax programs. On the left, you have tax programs and their names. On the right, you have fiscal year approximate annual distribution for some of these smaller taxes that are contained within the GenTax system. Distribution timeline. Business activity is the time period which the underlying income was earned. Examples include the year that the taxpayer earned the income, the month that the business made the taxable sales. Reporting period is the month files a return. Examples include April 15th for personal income tax and the 25th day of each month for gross receipts and compensating tax. Distributions must be made by the end of the month following the reporting period for the Financial Distribution Bureau. Timeline for motor vehicle differs slightly. Business activity is the time period in which the fees and taxes and citations are paid. Examples include payments of fees for updating a driver's license and paying a citation. The reporting period is the same month as the business activity period because documents are turned in with the payment. Distributions must be made by the end of the month following the reporting period. Tax Administration Act and MVD distribution key differences. Revenues are typically based on tax returns filed by the taxpayer on established dates with taxpayer-provided information. For motor vehicle division, revenues are typically fees for different types of transactions. The amount of the fees are determined by statute. Distribution timing. The GenTax system closes each revenue period on the 10th of each following month or the next business day. All monies received and matched to the return by the close will be distributed. Example, November reporting period closes December. Distributions processing begins on the 11th or the next business day of the month. Taxation revenue strives to complete distribution process as quickly as possible to ensure the distribution is made by the statutory deadline, which is the last day of the month. A common reason for later distributions is weekend in the middle of the processing. Distribution timing, 60-day money. Once GenTax closes a revenue period, there are three possible scenarios. Recipients are matched to a return distributed by the end of the distribution month. Unmatched receipts received within the last 60 days are placed in suspense by taxation and revenue, pending matching a return, or recipients that have remained unmatched for more than 60 days are remitted to the state general fund. This is referred to as the 60-day money. 60-day money is defined by statute. 60-day money is held in a special bucket within the state general fund, distinct from distributions actually due to the general fund. Normal business practices require monies to be sent and pulled back from the general fund 60-day money bucket. When an unmatched fund are eventually matched with a return, taxation revenue pulls the money back from the general fund 60-day money bucket and distributes to the appropriate recipient. The most common reason for 60-day money is funds being received before the tax return is filed. In these situations, tax and revenue does not know how the money should be distributed, so the funds are temporarily parked in suspense fund and then transferred to the general fund as 60-day money. Once the return is filed, taxation revenue matches the funds with the return and pulls back the money from 60-day bucket to complete the correct distribution. MVD distribution is a little bit different and requires all amounts received per the motor vehicle code during any month to be distributed by the end of the following month. Tapestry system has no distinct closing date. The system reconciles and processes occur during the first half of each month. The distribution processing occurs during the last week of each month. Taxation revenue strives to complete the distribution processes as quickly as possible and makes the distribution by each statutory deadline, which is the last day of the following month. A common reason for an earlier distribution is a holiday at the end of the month. MVD distribution timing. 60-day money does not apply to the MVD distribution. The Motor Vehicle Code is designed to accommodate a government-issued notification accompanied by payment, such as a motor vehicle registration, citation, or driver's license renewal. The Motor Vehicle Department customers normally have no reason to pay in advance and payments tied to the government-issued notice. Knowledge check. GenTax closes for May reporting period occurs on June 10th. June 10th was on a Friday. When was the distribution made? The correct answer would be C, any time before the end of June. Gross receipts compensating tax distributions. Municipalities receive 1.225% from the 4.875 state rate. Local option tax revenue, administrative fees, partial hold harmless distributions for food and medical deductions. All are separately stated on the publicly available RP 500 report, which I will cover later on in the workshop. Gross receipts and compensating tax distribution to counties, local government tax revenues, administrative fee distributions. Administrative fee distributions are phasing out by the end of July 1st of 2028. Partial hold harmless distributions for food and medical deductions. Harmless distributions are in a phase out ending July 1st of 2029. And all these can be found separately on the RP 500. Hold harmless distributions. Hold harmless distributions partially compensate local governments for revenue lost due to food and medical deductions enacted in 2024. The taxpayers indicate these deductions on the GRT return, and Tax and Revenue applies each local government's current hold harmless percentage to determine the hold harmless distribution. For most local governments, the hold harmless percentage declines each year and will stop entirely after July 1st of 2029. Some local government hold harmless payments are frozen in statute. Oil and gas distribution. The amount from these taxes may be further distributed to school districts, institutions of higher education, hospital districts per each county's property tax schedule. County equalization. Each September, tax revenue distributes to the counties based on a statutory formula. To fund this distribution, Tax and Revenue reduces the amount of GRT distributed to the state general fund by the amount owed to the counties. County equalization definition and calculations is a formula based on annual gross receipts and population data. Not all counties qualify for this distribution. In 2025, the county equalization distribution totaled $46 million. Small Cities Assistance Fund. Each month, Taxation Revenue makes a distribution to the Small Cities Assistance Fund based on state compensating tax net receipts. Each February, Taxation Revenue follows the statutory formula to distribute the amount in the fund to eligible municipalities. Not all cities qualify for this grant. The formula for annual distribution of the amounts in the Small Cities Fund can be up to $16.3 million that would be distributed. Adjustments. A TAA distribution adjustment occurs when revenues are less than the amount of an adjustment that must be netted out of current revenues. Common examples include amended tax returns that result in a refund owed to taxpayers in excess of the current distribution, amended returns that change the location code to which recipients are sourced, resulting in a redistribution funds from one location to another. Amended returns resulting from audits. This typically involves multiple tax reporting periods. TAA distribution adjustments occur throughout the year and are a normal part of the business activity. Tax and Revenue follows statutory rules as defined regarding adjustments. Some adjustments are recovered by Taxation Revenue, others are not recovered. Recoverable amounts occur if the adjustment triggers the thresholds set in statute permitting the state to recover some or all of the negative adjustments. Unrecoverable amounts occurs if the adjustments do not trigger statutory thresholds. Unrecoverable amounts are not paid back to the state. When an adjustment occurs, Taxation Revenue reaches out to the impacted local government. If the adjustment rule results in uncoverable amount, a written notification is sent. Local governments have an option to follow how to pay back the recoverable amount to the state. They can make a one-time payment to Taxation Revenue Department, enter into an agreement to have the amount deducted from the next distribution, or enter into an installment agreement to have the specified amount deducted from each distribution for a set number of months. A taxpayer amends 3 years of returns that were originally filed with the wrong location code. The original location code was the municipality, but the amended return changed the recipient to the county. This resulted in a distribution reduction totaling $100,000 to the municipality. The threshold calculations determine that 75,000 is recoverable and 25,000 is unrecoverable. Here's what to expect. Taxation and revenue will reach out to the municipality to explain what has occurred. Outreach will be followed up by written communication. Data is present on the RP 500. Total paybacks include 75,000, unrecoverables 25,000, netting out the amount related to the current month's distribution. The counties may receive additional amounts based on the amended returns. The municipality may enter into an installment agreement to repay the 75,000 over time. The state general fund floats any differences. MVD distribution adjustments are much less common than the Tax Administration Act adjustments due to the type of transaction processed by the Tapestry system. Occasionally, file errors have been identified. If the amount of the adjustment is less than $1,000, no adjustment is made. If there are no equal offsetting receipts, the state general fund distribution is reduced accordingly. The local government liaison works with local governments and counties, and the position resides in the office of the secretary. Open lines of communication between taxation and revenue and the local governments is one of the top priorities for the local government liaison. The liaison will act as the first point of contact if a local government has a question. Part of the local government job duties include local option taxes and rates, distribution explanations, annexations, establishing new location codes, governmental gross receipts tax, assistance with public reports, access to non-public reports and data, confidentiality training for local government officials, tax increment development districts, tax increment funding districts, and installment agreements for local governments. If a local government has a question for taxation revenue but is not sure who to ask, the local government liaison is the best place to start. The liaison can make inquiries regarding questions and ensure the questions are directed to the appropriate area, and most importantly, ensure that there is a prompt resolution. Publicly available reports include the RP 500, the RP 80, and the business tax matrix. The RP 500 includes gross receipts of compensating tax revenue distribution details. The RP 80, tax base and liability by industry, is reported quarterly, and the business tax matrix is on a monthly rotation. The RP 500 can be accessed at tax.newmexico.gov. And if you click on governments on the black ribbon, you'll be able to access the RP 500. The RP 500 is shown as business activity for January, reporting and collection month for February, and distribution month would be March. The RP 500 contains 5 types of reports within it. It contains the gross receipts, compensating tax, interstate telecom, distribution by local government, options and revenue, accounting period, taxable gross receipt base and liability broken out by major industry groups, which is referred to by the industry report, governmental gross receipts and leased vehicle distributions is also broken out by major industry groups. Here's an example of the RP 500 distribution for Albuquerque. As you can see, this report, this activity is January 2026. Reporting month is February 26, and this was distributed March of 2026. The RP 500 distribution report, separate breakouts for the following amounts: food and medical hold harmless distributions, penalty and interest, intercept agreements with New Mexico Finance Authority, recoverable and unrecoverable amounts, payback deductions, and administrative fees. RP 500 Industry Report. The tax reports are summarized by NAICS codes, North American Industry Classification System. The codes are chosen by the taxpayer when they register to pay GRT and compensating tax from a list provided by Taxation Revenue. Only one code is available for each business, therefore different activities may be combined under one type. Here's an example of the industry report, which is available on the RP 500 link. Again, this report is for business activity month of January. Reporting period is February, and the distribution month is March. For each industry, shows total gross receipts, taxable receipts, tax due, and tax paid. Local government shares of tax due and tax paid and adjustments. The amount shown separately due to the current period and the prior period claims, amended returns, and audit assessments. There are redactions on the RP 500 industry report. Taxation Revenue cannot reveal information from the taxpayer reporting except in matters for statistical purposes that the information revealed is not identified as applicable to the individual taxpayer. If the report has an asterisk, it means that there is an amount behind, but fewer than 3 taxpayers preclude its release. Redacted amounts are included in the total at the bottom. Non-public reports. Contact the local government liaison to learn more about access to the non-public reports and this information. Local governments have access, and local government liaison, their information can be located on tax.newmexico.gov. You click on the government's page and you access the local government liaison link. Non-public reports include filer by location, monthly range report, monthly increase-decrease report, verification list prepared by local governments. Filer by location report includes names, taxpayer identification numbers, addresses of registered gross receipts taxpayers reporting gross receipts for that local government. Requirements for obtaining the report: request specifying reasons include name of all interested persons, confidentiality training completed by all parties in the request, sharing agreement with the department. Report can be obtained for up to 12 months preceding the date of the request. Monthly increase-decrease report includes gross receipts, tax distribution by local government, and options. Total distributed based on the location code reported on the gross receipts tax return. Adjustments to the distribution for amendments, audits, or corrections are reflected in this report by option. This report, you must also take the confidentiality training and have the confidentiality agreement on file. Monthly range report. Type of transactions, taxpayer name, address, account ID, filing period, municipality, and amount range. A range of gross receipts tax paid from the business attributable to the municipality under the Gross Receipts and Compensating Tax Act or local option gross receipts tax imposed by the municipality. This report also would need the confidentiality training completed along with the confidentiality agreement. Verification of lists prepared by local governments. List of businesses located within the municipality furnished by the municipality that have reported gross receipts tax to taxation or revenue, but have not reported to the municipality. This is a manual process, and all aspects of confidentiality rules would still apply to this report. Requirements for obtaining non-public reports. Execution of legal agreement with the department and the confidentiality training for all parties involved in viewing the reports. Local government officials and staff are subject to anti-disclosure rules and penalties. It is unlawful for any person other than the taxpayer to reveal any other person a taxpayer's return or return data. Penalties for unauthorized disclosure, even if a disclosure is inadvertent or unintentional, still is unauthorized. It is a misdemeanor and can be up to a $1,000 fine. Cannot work for the state for 5 years. Potentially worse if it contains federal tax information. To a person authorized whose official duties required return information includes TRD personnel, to the extent necessary to perform an authorized purpose, protect from being revealed to an unauthorized person by physical or electronic means. Records will be returned to the secretary or destroyed as soon as they are no longer necessary. To access the confidentiality training, you'll locate the link at tax.newmexico.gov on the government's page. The person taking the training will notify the department via email link at the end of the training for completion verification. The verification is sent to the local government liaison and is tracked. Thank you for participating in the Financial Distribution Bureau workshop. If you have further questions, you can contact trd.distributions@state.nm.us. If you are a local government official, you could also email local.gov@tax.newmexico.gov. Again, thank you for participating in the Financial Distribution Workshop.